Hello everyone, I'm Sarah, you can call me Pixie. Today I'm doing the year-end book tag, and here we go. First question, are there any books you started this year you need to finish? I've, for the most part, finished the books I have started or DNF'd them. November had quite a few of those DNFs, wrap up coming probably next week, so stay tuned. But on that note, I'm going to try and focus on some of the series I'm in the middle of, which there are also a lot of, such as the Codex Alera series by Jim Butcher, and I have planned to read Cursor's Fury, which is the third book of the series, this month, and finish that before the end of December and the end of 2023. I do also have the Actions and Goals story structure book, which has been in progress for a couple of months now. And I also have an audiobook I have started on Spotify. More on that though in the next question. Question 2. Do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? Depends on what you would consider autumnal. But on the note of that audiobook, I am using this as my autumnal read to carry me into the next year or carry me into the next season. That book is a Robin Hood retelling that is self-published by A.P. Bestwick, and it's called A Forest of Vanity and Valor. It's a nice short book, about 5 hours, and I'm maybe 2 hours into that now. I'm starting to see the crossover or the links to the Robin Hood. Is he a fairy tale? I don't think he's a fairy tale. He's a fable, I think, because there's a lesson. Anyways, into the Robin Hood original myths and legends around that character. I'm starting to see some of the links and where they are ever so slightly twisted into this new version, and so far I am loving it. Question 3. Is there a new release you are still waiting for? Yes, very much so. I also didn't necessarily expect it to be published this year, and that is book 6 of the Kingstark Tidings by Cal Cade. For the most part, she has been working on the last book in the trilogy that she has for Tor, whose name I can never remember. Can't even tell you the first book. I remember that I found that trilogy somewhat confusing. Although I've listened to the first 2 books, probably not a good idea to listen to those books because there's a lot going on. All I remember about the Tor trilogy basically is it's a twist on the hero's journey and the chosen one, and the chosen one by prophecy in this story, he doesn't make it past like the first couple chapters. Instead, the chosen one is running off to save the day and gets attacked and dies in that first attack. So then his buddy is taking over and taking up the mantle of trying to save the world. But will he do it? We don't know. But off of that, recently on her webpage, she has updated it to show that she is finally working on Kingstark Tidings Book 6 and has finished that trilogy book for Tor, I believe. I think it's now with Tor for them to do their publishing and stuff. And so I don't know if she's gonna just stick with Kingstark Tidings or if she's going to start yet something else, another project. But the book I'm waiting for is the next book of the Kingstark Tidings. Question 4. What are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? Why are we keeping it to just 3? But anyways, since that is the question, again, I would like to focus on finishing the series that I am in the middle of. In particular, the Codex Alera series, which I've already mentioned, and reading Cursor's Fury. Also carrying on with the Sword Art Online light novels, which I have the next one right here, also on my December TBR. And in true reader fashion, we're gonna start something else. Because this one was gifted to me, I want to say last year, possibly at my birthday. I don't remember, but I had it gifted to me. And it has been calling my name lately. I would have probably picked it up in November if I wasn't doing NaNoWriMo and trying to focus on that. But I have now started it, literally just started it. I'm on page 16, the start of chapter 2. So just getting into this one, we'll see how that goes. And then I think this next one is question 5. I've already lost count. Is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? I'm hoping that this one, of Blood and Fire, may actually do that. There's a few also on my Kindle that I'm aware of that I have purchased that are indie or self-published, like The Risen Shard by D.K. Holmberg. I don't even remember what it's about anymore, but I know I was scrolling through that and the cover kind of jumped out at me. Also, I was kind of silly and put this on my holiday wish list thinking that I wasn't going to get to it before Christmas and the holidays and the gift giving by family. I recently, in October, finished One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig and am very much looking forward to the sequel to Twisted Crowns. I don't know if that is, like, if it's a duology or a trilogy, but still very much. As soon as I finished One Dark Window, I wanted the next book. But NaNoWriMo was coming up, so I put it on my wish list. I'm finding that was possibly a mistake, but in the meantime, I've got this one to hold me over. And the final question, I believe we're on question 6. Have you already started making reading plans for 2024? Kind of, sort of, not so much plans on what I'm reading, more how I'm going to be tracking my reading and what I'm going to be tracking. I have been testing various reading tracker apps and creating my own stuff in like Google Sheets or Excel, trying to find what works for me because I have struggled with some of the apps, including Storygraph, where, using Storygraph as an example, there was a book I had listened to on Scribd somewhere in the summer, I think. It's apparently not a popular book or something, and I found the ISBN, but every time I tried putting in the ISBN, I got the little message of, hey, we're working on uploading your book, it'll, give us some time. So I check back the next day. The book's not there. I put in the ISBN again. Again, I get the message, hey, we're working on it. A couple days later, and the same thing, and the cycle kind of continued until I just stopped trying to log the book. And I don't think I've logged it anywhere else. Like, this year's reading tracking has been such a mess because I have some books over here, some books over here as I've been testing various things. But this is one book that I can say has probably not been tracked on anything that I've tried this year. So trying to find a reading tracker that works for me because I am interested in tracking my reading, and I often forget the titles of books or the authors of books. As you've seen in this video, I've struggled a few times. But so having a reading tracker kind of helps with that, especially if I'm going to be doing like book recommendation videos or book recommendation blog posts. It kind of helps to have that list that I can go through with some like notes. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I know people have suggested Notion. I've tried that. Did not like it actually. For one reason and one reason only. I was doing the free plan and I had about like 25 books in there, and then the next day I managed to log like 50 or 75, like I was on fire. Went back the third day. The 50 to 75 books that I had just put in the day before were gone. Poof! And in researching how to possibly find those books and retrieve that data, you had to be on the paying plan. So I don't know what I did wrong, or if the Notion app did, like, I don't know what happened, but that was a lot of work because I was also putting in the images of the covers so that I could kind of see the covers. And I was very upset, to say the least. So with that, I threw Notion to the side and I'm like, I am not touching you for a long while. So yeah, not doing that. But so I have been on the hunt for a reading tracker for 2024, and so really need to wrap that up here in 2023, so that I can have something in January then to track the reading that I am doing. And I'm figuring out what is important for me to track, like the title, the author's name. Do I want to track the publisher? Tracking the series and trying to find an easy way of doing that to figure out what I've read in a series, what series I've started, what series I still want to start. There are a lot on my current tracker that I really want to start. But so that's as close as I've come to any reading related plans for 2024. And those are my answers for the end of year book tag. Let me know in the comments what some of your answers would be to some of these questions. I'm curious to know, like, what 3 books are you limiting yourself for to carry you into the next year? Why are we limiting it to just 3? There are so many books. Okay, I see why we would limit it to 3, because realistically, I'm not sure that I will get through the December TBR that I made, so I might just get through 3 books. But there are so many more that I so want to get to this month. Will I? Won't I? We'll have to find out. We'll find out together in January, I guess. And with that, I guess I will see you next week with a new video. TTFN!